Good morning, good evening, and good night, everybody. My name is Sarah, and today we have kind of just a list of things I want. So, my birthday is coming up. I read a lot, so naturally most of my list of things I want is books. And this video is just to make things easier to make a little gathering of things I want and just a single video to send it out to other people who might need this list. I've seen this done on BookTube a couple of times. I like the idea, so I figured if I was ever going to do it, now would be the time. So, with that all being said, let's dive on in. I do want to apologize if you hear a lawnmower going on outside. I live next to a public space. The first book is Chosen. This book kind of deals with time travel, dimension travel. Essentially, people have been disappearing for a while, and when our main character is suddenly swooped away to another time and place, he realized that all the people who are disappearing, all his classmates and all the kids who used to go to his school, are being forced to compete in this game by an evil overlord, and he has to figure out what's going on and try to save everybody. This book deals a lot with trying to figure out what's going on, why certain people are chosen over others, and how our main character and all their friends can get out of this alive, even if they're not exactly capable of hiding their way. Because evil overlord, brutal game, death matches and stuff. You can't exactly hide behind a boulder in these, and the cover looks so cool, and I'm so excited because I've read a lot of, mostly manga, which follow the same general idea, and I can't wait to get my hands on this, because I'm gonna get this one day. It may take a while, but one day. The next book I want is Archenemies by Marissa Meyer. This is book 2 in Renegade series. I read the first book last month, 2 months ago. I don't even know when I read it, but it was just so good, and I loved it. And it's sort of like, what if superpowers became real and the world fell to anarchy? What if villains and people who want to be recognized as humans, even though they could do all these inhuman things, took over the world? And so renegades one day, these superheroes with a noble cause, calmed all the villainy and rebuilt society. This book actually follows the story of our main character, who was raised by the villains. And so our main character has to go infiltrate one of the world's most secure areas with all the greatest superhero guarding it, and they have to work their way into the ranks to see if they can take down the renegades. Unfortunately, our main character was never entirely sure on what side they sat on. So now as they're being introduced to other ideas, other moralities, other concepts of what good and wrong are, their sides might be tested. And so this whole series is trying to figure out, do you lie in the good, do you lie in the evil, or do you lie on the middle? And I love ideas that work with there's not always two options, even if it seems like there are, and I cannot wait to continue on this series. So I need book 2 and book 3. I don't think book 3 is out yet, so I need book 2, and I cannot wait. The next 3 books are technically manga, but I love them all, and I need them in my life. So the first one is My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia. This, again, is a superhero story, a world filled with superpowers, and our main character was not born with one. But that doesn't stop him from wanting to be one of the world's greatest heroes. And so one day, when he gets a chance to inherit the power of the world's #1 hero, the symbol of peace, he jumps at that chance, and so now he's attending school for superhero teens as he tries to become the world's next greatest hero and take the place of his idol. I don't have any of the manga for this, so really 1 through whatever number is currently out right now would just be great. I, of course, have caught up with the anime. I'm waiting for season 3 to come out, so that should come out soon, and I just cannot wait because of how much I love this series. The next manga is Blue Exorcist. I've talked about the series a couple times on this channel. It follows the son of Satan as he wants to become an exorcist to kill his father. Yeah, those are big dreams, and I love it. I own the first 5 volumes, so anywhere from volume 6 and up would just be amazing to have. The last manga I want to talk about is Yu Hakusho. I love this series. It's one of the original 90s manga. It's really one of the first ones that got the whole supernatural genre inspired into manga, because before this series came about, it wasn't really that popular. This story follows a kid named Yusuke who dies in the first 2 pages of the manga. And unfortunately, the afterlife is not expecting him to die that day because he gave up his life to save a child despite the record of him being a delinquent no-good. So everyone just assumed he wasn't going to step in. And of course, when he does, they don't have a place for him. So they offer him a chance to come back to life under the condition that he now works for them. So I currently own the first 4 volumes of this, so 5 and up would just be greatly appreciated because, again, I love this series and it's one of the older ones, so you don't really see these in bookstores that often, but I cannot wait because I love it so much and I need it. Back to books, the next one is Reincarnation Blues. This book is set in a universe where you get 1,000 chances to reach peace. You are reincarnated so many times that each time you get a step closer and closer to reaching harmony and to get to the afterlife. Our main character, however, that's not his goal. He has fallen in love with death, and so he wants to find a way to be immortal so he can forever live in the mortal world and he can always see death. Because death doesn't really exist in the afterlife, they only exist down in the mortal planes. So he has to find a way to stay in the earth of reincarnation and not fall into the afterlife. And he is reaching the end of his reincarnation cycle. And soon he will have to figure out whether or not it's possible to stay in the human world. I've heard so many good things about this book, and I keep seeing it, and I keep putting off buying it. So many people have compared the atmosphere of Night Vale to Reincarnation Blues that I feel like I need to get it because Night Vale is one of my favorite universes just to learn about, and I cannot wait. I really need this book, but again, I don't know when I'm gonna get it. So that's why it's on this list. So hopefully I will get it eventually. The next book I really want is Bloodspell. This is actually a new addition to this list, so I haven't sat on it as much as the rest of these books, but this is sort of a Cinderella retelling, except our Cinderella can turn metals into gold with her blood. Instead of meeting our prince at the ball, we instead meet him at a boarding school where he is walking the line between political successor and complete and utter chaos and violence. Now, I know this book technically does have some romance in it, but it's a Cinderella retelling, of course it is. But I'm willing to accept that because it sounds so good and I've heard nothing but great things about it. Even the reviews are all 4 and 5 stars. And so I'm just so excited to read this book. And again, it's one of the newer things to this list, so I haven't thought about it as much, but it's still there. I still want it. And so it's on the list. The next book is kind of hesitant for me to add because I really like the idea of it, but I'm so concerned about the execution, which is the main reason I haven't bought it yet. But the book is There Will Come Darkness. And in this universe, there used to be the 7 fortune tellers, the people who could see the future, the oracles, the prophets, all that good stuff. They foretold of a time of darkness when they would go away and things would kind of fall to ruin. And of course, that's happening. Now, the idea sounds really cool, but the problem is I'm just so concerned about the execution of it, and we don't really know much about the main characters and who we'll be following, and so it's on the list because I want it, but it should be lower on the list because I like it, but I'm also scared to read it because I don't want something that sounds so cool to not be good. The next book I have to talk about is Lovely War. This is out of my comfort zone, but it sounds so interesting that I keep thinking about it. I keep being drawn back to it. This book follows World War II as 4 unlikely people come together, and there's romance and there's questioning and there's, of course, it's the war going on, so there's disaster and heartbreak. And of course, this entire story is being narrated by Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, as she tells the story to her husband Hatshepsut and her lover Ares. And it's questioning why love and a war are always being drawn together. Because, Aphrodite, goddess of love, Ares, god of war. They're not, you wouldn't think they would go together, but time and time again, in different cultures, in different society, those 2 ideas have been linked. And so this book is supposed to examine that, the idea of love and war and risk and conflict and how that draws people together. And that just sounds so cool. The last historical fiction I read was Dear Mrs. Bird. I loved that. That, of course, didn't have the Greek god aspect, but I loved that book so much, and I have been trying to find another book that would make me just in love with historical fiction again, because every other book I've looked at, it's always been that's cool and all, but this one has sparked my interest. The next book I have to talk about is The Past and Other Things That Should Stay Buried. This book, I've been meaning to read it, but every time I look at it, I'm no, I have another book more important in my hand, but it keeps sticking with me. So, the premise of this book, the little tagline that you use to catch your attention, a good friend will bury you, a best friend will dig you back up, which this book deals with, I'm not sure necromancy, but like zombies, like your best friend coming back to life, and you're the one who has to deal with it. Like our main character is stuck in the situation where his best friend just died, and now he's back to life, and it's like, well, guess we're dealing with that now. And it sounds so cool and so interesting, but the book is so short. I'm so scared that like the idea might be lost because of just how condensed it has to be. The last book I have to talk about is Game of Stars. This is book 2 in a series that I struggle to pronounce, so here's just the name of it. This is a middle grade series. I read the first book, which is like Serpent's Secret or something. I loved it. Like, it deals with this girl who was suddenly whisked away to a magical land after her parents were kidnapped. And she's like, I'm human though, like what's going on? And they're like, no, you're a princess from our dimension who was sent down the river and taken away to the mortal world. We need you back to fix this mess. And so she deals with like demons, and she has to go hunt down like orcs and monsters and save her parents. Her parents were already saved in the first book, and so this next book deals with the repercussions of her suddenly learning about her heritage and realizing she's not exactly human, which it sounds so cool, and I love it, and I want to continue the series because I love middle grade stories. I love just like the joy and aspect of it, and so I need this one in my life. So yeah, those are all 11, I think it was. Yeah, 11 books. I want to push on to people to say, hey, get me one of these, please. And I'm so excited to read any of these. So if you have any, like, not so much recommendations, but like encouragement for which books I should push harder than others, please leave that down in the comment section down below. And while you're there, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And as always, good night, good evening, and good morning, everybody.